Well, as when after 1938, I was a very not just athletic person, but also I was a business-minded child, and my father could not make a living. He could. He was always be watched by the police, and from also the people who was was there used to squeal on my father, so he had to watch his step. So I went to different towns. They call it Chernoho, Kishbari, Nojbari, and I bought chickens or fat geese or anything in poultry. I used to bring it home. So in black market, we dealt with the non-Jews, and I brought it home. We had what to eat.
How old were you?
I must be maybe 11, 10, 11, at that age already. I was already business-minded. Not I should brag about myself, but I remember I did those things, and I used to take it up to the Sheikhet came. He used to kill that in my knapsack at night. I used to go to the nearest town where the railroad was, and I used to get on the railroad cars, not where the passengers went up. I had to go the opposite side, where the dark side. I climbed up on the steps, and that's how I went up to Košice, to the second largest city of Slovakia. And there I sold. My father had the connection. There where I sold the poultry, and I got cash for it. And I went to the marketplace, bought wherever I could, vegetables or fruit, and take it home. And I used to sneak into the town. This went on for a couple years.
What was your older brother doing?
He was a very shy person. He was always pushed me. He was a little bit, not just only shy, but he was static. He was beaten up as a child, and when he was talking, he couldn't. It took time until he could spell out a word.
What was his name?
Ernest.
Ernest.
And I'm the one, I had confidence always in myself. I don't know where I got it. Is it luck or is it just nature? But I had confidence. I wasn't afraid. And I did this go in dealing. Once, as I said, we went to a town with lime, a wagon, and this other neighbor, he was a friend of the Jews. Matter of fact, he was the commissar in the town during the Czech time. He didn't have no confidence in himself, but he was free, and he had 2 horses. We load up a wagon of lime, rock, and we went to that town, and we sold it. And that day, we had such a good day. It was in the springtime, mostly when it's for Easter, they're getting ready to painting their houses, the pageants, the people. And we traded in for wheat, corn, oat, money, and we came home practically a full wagon of wheat and corn and oat for exchange that lime. And somebody must have squeal at me, not squeal at us on both. But the non-Jew, his name was Leiko Jula. He wasn't prosecuted. They didn't even call him to the jail. I was summoned. I was a child.
You got home though safely, and then
we did got home, and the next day or the second day, I was summoned from the police to report. I went there, and he actually caught me without even say. I couldn't deny it. He says, "You went this and this day with this and this to sell lime rocks in this and this town." I couldn't deny it because I was red-handed and nobody caught me red-handed. And therefore, I had to go to the county courthouse one day, and they sentenced me 1 week in jail.
What did your family do?
In nothing, they couldn't do nothing. In that town, the Chartres-Uyhel, I had an aunt over there. She brought me up some food, I think twice the time I was there. And I also was between, they call it partisans, Yugoslav partisans. They brought them up from the Yugoslav borders because there was probably risk for the security of of Hungary. They brought them up and they put them in the jail, in that jail. And there was one particular guy, he was a very tough guy. And they was afraid of him. But he took me under his arm and his portion, he was giving me, from his portion gave me to eat. And he told me, he hardly could speak Hungarian, broken Hungarian. He was a Yugoslav. And he was telling that he had a son my age, and therefore he feels so sympathetic towards me, and he will do everything possible that they shouldn't put their hand on me. And he did tell them, because early in the morning and at night we were around the courtyard we walked for half an hour or an hour, I don't remember exactly the timing. But he was good to me. In that week I stayed there and they let me go a week later back home. But I didn't stay home because every week I had to report. You see, the Hungarians, they had like Hitler Jugends, young, underaged, from 12 or 13 till 18 or 20, and we wear a yellow band. And we had to go report with the non-Jews, and I was always prosecuted, especially me. It was a lieutenant, how I call it, with a 2-star. First he only had 1 star, then he had 2 stars. A short guy, his name was Salai Laszlo, and he picked on me. He just didn't like me. And our hometown...
He was the Hitler Youth Group?
He was the head of this, they call it Levente. That's like Hitler Jugend in Germany, right. He was the one who trained how to, with a dummy gun, how to defend or shoot, because our hometown was in a mountain slope with valleys and forests. And then those dummy guns was heavy. Each was made from oak tree, you know, it was heavy, a regular size of a gun. And then he used to give me 10 or a dozen on my both sides of my shoulder to carry over the mountains, because next day he had to go in that town to do the training. So I had to carry it.
What year was this now?
Was a 41, that day, something like that. He did that for a few times. Then he threw me in the commissar's cellar in the dark. Over there, I didn't have what to do, so I mixed his potatoes up. One side was the big potatoes, this side was the small potatoes. And I used to mix it up, and the commissar didn't like it, and he said, don't do it anymore. So I said, the next time they put the meat there, I will separate it. But I didn't go anymore there, but I went to my next biggest city in Chartres-Uyhel. And from there, I had to have a piece of paper showing that I was It was like notarized that I was there for my exercise. If I wouldn't go, I would be penalized and I would be thrown into jail.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for a while until I got tired of it. Then I went up to Budapest.
How old were you? You were wearing a yellow band.
Yes. This was going on for years.
Late teens?
Yes. 17, 18, Budapest I went also for my exercise.
Was it okay for you just to leave when you wanted to leave and go to Budapest?
I had no choice. But wherever I made, I had a job. I worked in a place, the Jewish agency gave me a job to go, they call it rice. It was making coppersmith. He was making from old tin big dishes for the hotels or the restaurants. He used to make like a new, put the melt stuff top of it and look like brand new, the copper on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how would you call that. Anyway, and then I used to deliver it with a tricycle to the hotel. And they used to give me a little food for it.
This was in Budapest?
In Budapest.
How were you treated as a Jew? Were you still did you still have to wear the yellow?
Oh, sure. That was all the time. It was just a yellow band, but also I think I had already the Magent of it.
Mm.
If I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I stayed there till I remember so well. I'm sitting in a park, a city park, and that city park, the third was big, tall buildings. The third apartment had the window open, and the loudspeaker from the radio was so loud I could hear it, and it just said that the war will be soon over because the body glow government of Italy gave in to the Allied forces. When I heard that, I was so excited to run back to my home where I stayed in the rooming house, and that the war will be over. And a couple days later, Hitler sent his paratroopers in that mountain top where Mussolini was captured by the partisans. And Hitler's paratroopers snatched out Mussolini from that mountaintop fortress and back to the fascist government. The war was going on still.
1941?
This was in 1943, if I recall, 1943. I went back to work, meantime a red sparkle from the fire went in my eye, and I got half blind. I couldn't see just one eye. So I couldn't work for a while. And then one day I got a letter from my parents in Budapest. While I didn't work, I find a person who was in black market. You see, it was a martial law from 1941 or 42, something like that was martial law. Anything we did, you was prosecuted very, very
harshly.
And this person in Budapest, he found me. Somehow we met each other, and he was making from worn out tires, to race.
Oh, uh-huh.
You know, on a little machine. He made it round, smaller, square, and he was selling it in black market. And left over sometime I put in my pocket a few. And I sent it home. This was gold. And as I sent home, and also the khaki threads from the factory. I had a Jewish boy who was he was a tailor, so he was working for the Hungarian army where they was making Hungarian uniforms. He put in a pocket, somehow he smuggled out, and he gave me, and I sent that also home. And my parents sold it, and somebody, or they squealed on them, or they must have, because they wouldn't. And the police found that out. They were summoned. Where did you get it? They must have got beaten up or what. She wrote to my mother and my father, immediately come home. The police wants us, and you gotta be here. So I went home, and they start take everything out of me. Where did you get that dirty Jew? How did you get it? And you know what's your penalty for this? This is a martial law. You're going to be penalized. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm sorry. Way back in 1940 or 41 in my hometown, non-Jew accused me that I said that we're going to get guns, turn against the Hungarian and the German army. We're going to revolt. And it was, as I said, statarius, that's martial law, statarius law. And this is punishable by death. It was so, my case, it went up to the 8th Army Division, to the headquarters. But because I was a child, the general, his name was, the general's,
it's okay.
I forgot the name. He says that belongs to the youth court, not here. And he sent me down to Charleroi, who was the youth court. And there, as we marched in, they were summoned. First, this boy who accused me, then Szalai Laszlo, who had the 2 stars, who was the head of this youth Levente, and then my father, me, and then my father. And this Szalai Laszlo, the captain, he had boots, and he had like, when you go on a horse, you have that things.
Stirrups?
When he hits that horse,
yeah,
the horse jump.
Spurs.
Spurs he had on. So as he marched in, I was so stiff, afraid, so I was much so following him that I stepped on this step, and he fell down in front of when they opened the door, he fell down, and he fell down on his knee, and the judge he was hysterical, laughing. I thought, this is the end of me. I was sure, for this I'm going to get the rope. As we got in, and a guy started to read what I was accused for. So the judge asked this boy who accused me, did this Jew said that? Could you tell me on your words what did this Jew said? And as he was saying, the judge had the report. This was going on for a couple of years, and he's reading it. He noticed that this boy is lying. And I remember that the judge's name was Mészáros Gyula, was his name. And the boy who accused me, he was Pachuta. Only I know the family name. He saw this judge that he's lying. He's reading, and he does like this. And he says to him, are you sure? Are you sure that's what this Jew said? He says, yes, positive. And the captain, the Hungarian police. Yes, that's what he told me. And he says to me, you go home. It was a Friday. You go home. And he says to the boy and the captain, you stay here, I want to talk to you. They let me go home. When I go home, I tell you, just before midnight, they thought they see a ghost. They couldn't believe it that I came home. They thought I never will come home. Anyway, I don't know what the judge told this captain and this guy. They let him home. But I couldn't stay home. And that's the time I went up to Budapest. Mm-hmm. So in Budapest, as I said, I was summoned. I'm jumping from one place to another. I went home, and the police called me to a town. The next town, it was Bodrog Szerdahely, and the Slovak they call it Streda nad Bodrogom. They were the police station. And they start to asking questions. Where did you get the khaki threads and this rubber razor? So I said to them that I have a person who I help him to do it. I didn't realize that is a stiff penalty at that time. I just couldn't think straight. Anyway, the couple of days later, the German army marched into Hungary, in my hometown, and they couldn't speak Hungarian. Well, in fact, one German soldier, I start to talk to him a couple of words, and he started to talk to me. He says to me, Eier. No, I knew what he wanted. I knew exactly, Eier, it's eggs, that I knew. So I went to the next neighbor, and I asked the woman for eggs. She was so scared, she gave whatever she had, eggs, and gave it to the soldier. And this egg, we had about a couple dozen eggs. That's how was our livelihood, to go into Sátorai Újhely and to sell it in the black market, and you could get a bread for it, or maybe some kind of vegetables.
But here you just gave it away to the soldier.
As I very know, he didn't know about these eggs, that soldier. He went back to his group in a house. They made, from a house, they made where the horses stays, a stable. Next day, I going into the city, Sátorai Újhely, and they already telling me on the street, non-Jews, don't go on the main road because the Hungarian police stop everybody, and you have to identify yourself. That scared me.
They were protecting you, though, these ordinary citizens.
Yes, they knew me from the town, because they had to go through 1, 2, 3 towns to get to Sátorai Újhely. So I took liberty, and I went alongside of the railroad, and here Sátorai Újhely, there was just before you get into the city, there is an opening, like the railroad is overhead, so you could go through. And right there was a big Jewish furniture manufacturer. And I went, as I'm turning in under the bridge, 2 Hungarian police, the police had like the rooster, they had egg near the head, had like
plumes?
Feathers. Immediately I freezed when I saw that. He says, let me see your ID card. I said, I haven't got any. He says, are you a Jew? At that moment I didn't know what to say. It took me a few seconds until I said yes. He said, sit down over there. I sit there until another fella came from a town, nearby town, my age. And they asked him right away, show me your ID card. Are you Jewish? He says, yes, sit down. And we sit down, and when one of the police get up, come with me, they took us into the Chateau hell. Where they take us? To the Gestapo headquarters. There was already SS all over. It was right near the synagogue, the Orthodox synagogue, and the conservative was across the street. But in the Orthodox synagogue, in the courtyard, they had classes, rooms. Anyway, they start asking questions. Where's your father? What did he do? Why? Why did you come? What is connection? And all kind of questions. And one even hit me. And then finally they finished, and they took us into the courtyard where was already more Jews, doctors, mostly influential Jews, some of the bankers, some department store owners, well-to-do Jews. I don't know, whether between 100, 150, I don't know exactly. We stayed there, and they guard us there, the SS. We stayed there for a whole month. After a whole month, we slept in each other, top on each other.
Did they feed you food? What?
Food we had, because for the Jewish community in Chateauroux was well-to-do, and there was money.
So people brought food with them?
Food, and there was a kitchen. And we ate. But a month later, all the towns, the police brought up a wagon and the horses. They brought all the Jews into that place where we were. They made a ghetto out of it. And we were circled around.
What was the name of it? Did it have a name?
Chateauroux ghetto. That was the name, the ghetto. First was a place, where the lumber yard and the streets, everything was Jewish. And we was guarded instantly for a whole month. There was 4 transport.
What year, what month?
This was in right after, Pesach. We was in March, April was the Pesach. Right after Pesach was the ghetto already. And a month later, we start to go, took the transport, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 railroad, full railroad into Birkenau.
Where were your parents?
They brought down my parents into there too. The whole town.
So you were there first, and
right. So I was with my parents for a while.
And your sister?
And my sister too.
And your brother?
But not my brother. My brother was taken away because he was in a military age. He was with the Yellow Band working in a forced labor camp. Where, I don't know, somewhere in Romania, somewhere, I don't know.
What was your mother's name? We never...
Sarah Gruner.
And your sister's name?
Pearl. Yiddish, Dina Pearl. Dina Pearl was her Yiddish name.
So you were all in this camp, in the
ghetto. It was in the ghetto. We had what to eat. Okay.
August 3rd, 1995, interviewing survivor Alexander Frohlinger, tape number 3. Mr. Frohlinger, you're leaving the ghetto after a month in the ghetto with your mother and father and sister. Tell us about that.
Yes, we were a whole month in the ghetto, and before the prior, I was a month as a, we called us TUS, were the short for for the German government, that we were responsible for any